All right, so we're back, and tonight we're going to be breaking down Manchester United's big win over Real Sociedad in the Europa League. We've got the match report and highlights from Sky Sports, and this one, I gotta say, this one had all the drama of a big European night at Old Trafford.
It is interesting you say that because it started with Real Sociedad. They kind of drew first blood.
Yeah.
A penalty in the 10th minute. You could almost feel that tension, I think, in the stadium.
Yeah, for sure. Like the air just got sucked out of the stadium for a minute there. And but then almost like out of nowhere, Manchester United gets a penalty of their own. What, like just 6 minutes later? And who steps up to take it but Bruno Fernandes, of course.
And that penalty, I think, was maybe the moment the entire match kind of shifted. Not only did he level the score, but it just seemed to inject like this belief into Manchester United, like this feeling of we're not going down without a fight.
Yeah, you could feel that energy shifting. And speaking of momentum, Fernandes just goes on to score two more penalties. And that's a hat trick, right? It's only his second for Manchester United.
That's right. And it's worth noting that this isn't just about luck, right? 3 penalties. That's incredible composure and precision under pressure.
Hmm.
I think Fernandez is really becoming a true leader for this team. He's not just scoring goals, he's dictating the tempo, he's really driving the attack.
Yeah, and it just makes you wonder, like, is relying so heavily on penalties a sustainable strategy? What happens if those calls don't go their way in future matches? I mean, is that something they can really count on?
That's a great question. And it is something I think Manchester United will need to consider moving forward. But I think this match also highlighted their ability to create chances and draw fouls in dangerous areas. It's not like they were just sitting back and hoping for penalties.
Right, for sure. And speaking of creating chances, let's talk about Diogo Dello. I mean,
Well,
he really put the icing on the cake with that goal in stoppage time, right? Made it a resounding 4-1 victory, and of course 5-2 on aggregate.
yeah, I mean, Deloa's goal really just solidified the win, sent a message to the rest of the competition. It wasn't just a victory, it was like a statement of intent from Manchester United.
Exactly, yeah. This win sends Manchester United into the quarterfinals, right? And they'll face Lyon. And, we mentioned earlier, this victory has implications beyond just the Europa League, too. A strong run in this competition could really boost their chances of getting a Champions League spot next season.
Absolutely. And if you look at what manager Ruben Amorim had to say after the match, it's clear that this competition is really far from an afterthought for Manchester United. He was really emphasizing the importance of building momentum and morale, especially after a tough stretch of matches.
Right. And let's not forget the praise he had for Fernandez. I mean, he called him a perfect captain and a legend. I mean, that's high praise.
Absolutely, yeah. I think Amorim's comments really highlight the impact Fernandez is having
Yeah,
on and off the pitch. He's setting the standard. He's leading by example. He's inspiring his teammates. It's not just about the goals. It's about the mentality he brings to the team.
for sure. All right, so we've talked about Fernandez, but I mean, there are other standout performances too, right? I mean, Casemiro, fresh off his strong showing against Arsenal, he brought that same intensity to this match. And then there's Patrick Dorgu. I mean, he was just incredible at wingback.
Yeah, he was exceptional,
Hmm.
especially considering his age and relative lack of experience at this level. Not only did he draw the foul that led to Real Sociedad going down to 10 men, but his sportsmanship in correcting the referee on a penalty call, I mean, that was truly remarkable.
It was a moment that kind of just made me think about like sportsmanship, you know? Like it would have been easy for him to just stay quiet, but he chose to do the right thing, even if it meant, maybe like giving up a penalty for his team.
Yeah, and I think it's a decision that kind of speaks volumes about Dorgu's character and
Yeah.
into perhaps the culture that Amorim is fostering at Manchester United. Remember what Amorim said when they asked him if he was proud of Dorgu's honesty? Something like, well, it depends. If it's 0-0 or we're losing, maybe I have a different answer, which is funny, but I think it shows a respect for fair play,
Yeah.
for sure.
I'm really curious to see how Dorgu develops as a player. He's got the talent and the right attitude to be a big player for Manchester United. But speaking of key figures, I mean, we can't forget about Joshua Zirkzee. He was playing in that number 10 role, and it felt like he was just, he was pulling the strings in attack.
Yeah, Xerxes was impressive for sure. He showed great vision, creativity. He was always finding those pockets of space, creating opportunities for his teammates. That pass to Dorgu, the one that led to the red card, that was a beauty. He's got a lot of potential, so it's good to see him finding his form.
It really just highlights the depth and the versatility, I think, of Manchester United's squad. They were missing a few key players in this match, but others just stepped up and they delivered. It's a good sign for the team moving forward.
Exactly. It shows they have options.
Yeah.
They can adapt to different situations. I think that depth can be crucial as they kind of navigate this busy schedule, with multiple competitions. But going back to Fernandez for a second, I thought his post-match interview was really insightful. He was talking about the pressure of playing for a club like Manchester United.
Yeah, he said something like, and I'm paraphrasing here, but it was like, at a club like Manchester United, winning is the only option. You could really hear the determination in his voice. It felt like he's really embracing that challenge and all the weight of expectation that comes with playing for a club with so much history.
And he also talked about the importance of belief. He said confidence can be a real game changer, especially at a club like Manchester United. And I think you can see that belief growing in the team. They're playing with more swagger, more conviction.
Yeah, it's a huge difference from earlier in the season. It feels like this win over Real Sociedad could be a turning point. They're through to the quarterfinals of the Europa League, still in contention for a top 4 finish in the Premier League, and they're playing with a renewed sense of purpose.
It definitely feels like a pivotal moment. They've got the talent, they've got the experience, and now, like you said, the belief. But going back to what you said earlier, is relying so heavily on penalties a sustainable strategy? It's something to think about as we look ahead to their upcoming matches.
Right, it's a good point. It's one thing to convert penalties in a one-off match, but can they keep that accuracy and composure over a whole season? And what about the other teams? Will they start to adapt? Will they become more disciplined in the box?
These are all good questions. And it's important to remember that both the Premier League and the Europa League are incredibly competitive. Manchester United will need to be at their best if they want to keep up this level of performance.
So, from everything we've talked about today, what stands out to you most about this match and kind of Manchester United's, trajectory right now? What are your key takeaways?
For me, I think it's the collective effort and that growing sense of belief within the team. It's not just about individual brilliance. They're playing as a unit. They're working hard for each other, and there's a real desire to win. Combine that with the tactical flexibility we talked about earlier, and I think that's a potent combination.
It really does feel like they've turned a corner. That win against Real Sociedad, it was more than just a win, right? I mean, it felt like a statement.
Yeah, it wasn't just the result, it was the way they did it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they dominated possession, they created so many chances, and they were just clinical in front of goal. It was like a complete performance. It really showcased their attack.
We talked a lot about Fernandez, but let's not forget about Rasmus Højlund. He didn't score, but he did win that penalty that led to Fernandez's first goal, right? It feels like he's starting to settle and find his feet in the Premier League.
Yeah. I think Højlund's performance was encouraging for sure. He showed great movement, good physicality. He caused a lot of problems for that Real Sociedad defense. And it's interesting, Fernandez was actually quick to defend Højlund from any criticism after the match. He was emphasizing his work ethic and how important he is to the team.
Yeah, it really speaks to the positive atmosphere, I think. It
Okay.
seems like they're supporting each other, focused on winning as a team, not just individual awards.
Exactly. And I think that's how you build a team that wins consistently. When everyone's on the same page, playing for each other, they can achieve great things.
So with all that in mind, where do you see Manchester United going from here? Can they keep this momentum going and, compete for some trophies?
It's definitely possible, right? I mean, they have a talented squad, a good manager, and like we said, that renewed belief. But it's going to be a long road. They got to stay consistent, avoid getting complacent, and they've got a tough schedule ahead of them.
Yeah, for sure. That quarterfinal match against Lyon is going to be a real test. Lyon's a good team. They've got a good track record in Europe. It'll be interesting to see how Manchester United handles that match.
For sure. That match is huge. If they win, it not only moves them forward in the Europa League, but it would be a massive confidence boost for the rest of the season.
So to our listeners out there, we leave you with this. Could this be the start of something special for Manchester United? Have they finally turned things around, rediscovered that winning mentality?
I think the signs are definitely there. They're playing with purpose. They're playing with passion. And there's a real team spirit that's been missing, I think, these last few years. But only time will tell if they can keep this up and achieve what they want to achieve.
We'll certainly be watching to see how it all unfolds. And that wraps up our deep dives into Manchester United's big win over Real Sociedad. Until next time, stay curious and keep following the beautiful game.